Howdy goons, minions, and soon-to-be servants of the Nimzy Nova Empire. When the first Switch came out, I was like many of the haters. Like, you know, some of you that are probably watching. I said it was underpowered, there was no way it was going to get 60 FPS on most things, and it didn't. Its gimmicks make it overpriced, things like that. I quickly found out, though, that the vast majority of Switch or Nintendo fans don't care about the specs. I've switched sides, though. Get it? Switch? I've switched sides for this one because I think they're right. I think it's important to keep an open mind. I've been wrong before, nothing wrong with admitting that. I like to say, be quick to share your thoughts, but be quicker to change them. It's much more important for me to be open-hearted, minded, and kind than it is for me to be right. Personally, I greatly dislike Nintendo as a company, but one thing they always do very well is their games. I have never ceased to smile at a Nintendo game. Even if it were to chug to a PowerPoint's pace, I would still smile at the silliness, creativity, and fun. Nintendo isn't the company for people who are power users though, and that's totally okay. Not everything has to be the most powerful system. Games are supposed to be fun, and that's what matters to me. I don't care if I can see every pore on Geralt's ass cheek. Is it fun? Yes, okay, me play. That's what I thought this hobby was about, having fun. Sure, as it looks right now, in terms of handhelds, the Switch 2 is powerful, but people like to say, oh, it's only as powerful as PS4. I don't think you really get how good that really is for a portable system this thin. A portable system that is a little better than a PS4 might not be as powerful as a Series S, but neither is the Steam Deck, and it's not like the Series S can even run everything at 60 FPS either. The Switch 2 isn't as powerful, but it's better than a PS4, still, because it's portable. But here's 10 reasons why the specs really don't matter, not to Nintendo fans. They aren't playing multi-platform titles. It's a pretty well-known fact that people who are playing on Nintendo systems aren't buying very many third-party games. This is something that Nintendo has been talking about recently with third-party developers. They want to change that. But people who buy Nintendo systems play Nintendo games, and it makes total sense. If I wanted to play Call of Duty, I'd play it on my PS4, my Xbox Series S, or my PC. Same goes for any other multi-platform title. Nintendo is a system full of system sellers. Absolutely any Nintendo game is a system seller. People will buy it just to play the next Mario, Splatoon, Pokemon, Zelda, WarioWare, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Smash Bros, Fire Emblem, Kirby. All of these game franchises are good enough to buy a Nintendo System 4. Even more so when you have all of them. They care about aesthetics. For some, the Nintendo console is like an iPhone. People who buy iPhones aren't buying them because they're good phones. They're buying them because of the social status associated with them. I've met women who won't date men if they use Android because it's a poor man's phone. Their words, not mine. Even though Samsung often costs the same. They don't care that Android is more open and has more user control. Some Nintendo users can be the same way. It's about the optics for them. And some of you can be that way too. But Nintendo fans are willing to pay more just for the aesthetics of ownership, which might sound dumb, but this is the entire basis of the console wars, is optics and aesthetics. Ownership in America is a major part of many people's identities because we live in a culture where we were taught to think ownership means accomplishment. You can own things and not have earned it. Everyone has one. I would be lying if I didn't say this was one of the reasons that I'm buying a Switch 2. It's a bit of fear of missing out or being alienated, but it's also a bit of me not wanting to be left out of the conversation. I know all of my friends will have a PC, but I also know even more people will have a Switch too. I want to keep my options open for who I play with. You can mock me for this all you want, but this is also a major reason why you play your specific systems. You want to be able to play the same thing as your friends. Wow, it's like we're all people, and like community, and like being with other people that we like. That's crazy. Steam Decks aren't mainstream. The common argument I see is, why don't you get a Steam Deck? Because I don't want one. I already have a gaming PC, and I have a handheld that can use Moonlight, so I can already stream my PC to my handheld. Why would I want to buy another gaming system to play the games I have when I can buy a new one that has games that my PC doesn't? I also like to have my games physical. I like to have a shelf full of games to show off. And you might be typing now, lol, they want to play physical games, but they're all going to be on keycards. As I've said, you giant dweeb, I'm not buying my Switch 2 to play third party. Third party is primarily going to be on keycards. Nintendo has already said that their games won't be. Even then, if they only have keycards, I won't buy them. The keycards are just a safety net for third-party companies scared of not getting sales on their physical games. So they put them on keycards, and then people don't buy them because they're not physical. Companies are stupid, y'all. They're just really stupid sometimes. Also, if you want to talk about specs and stuff like that, the Steam Deck isn't even 1080p. The big thing about Steam Decks, though, is that they simply aren't mainstream. They aren't for everybody. They're incredibly niche devices, and that's okay. They're not even available in stores. There's two things you will never find in a Walmart: an employee in the electronics section and a Steam Deck. I can walk into a store on launch and put a Switch 2 in my cart and play with it the same day. A Steam Deck I have to order and wait for. I'm a millennial. But I'm telling you, the majority of Gen Z don't like to wait for things. I've seen consumer reports saying that malls are thriving thanks to Gen Z because they don't want to wait for 2-day shipping. Mobile PCs get even more niche when you start getting into brands like ROG and AIM. These aren't for the average person. Nintendo is. Maybe not with this new price point, but Tish. Besides, Nintendo fans have an investment in the Nintendo architecture and infrastructure. They bought Switch 1 games. They have a Switch Online subscription. They want to stay on the Nintendo system. They're not like me. I'm built different. Dumpy, some might say. That's a good thing though, right? People still like dumpy? I heard people like big dumpies. Anyway, I want as many game consoles as possible. Also, they don't want a project. A Nintendo fan wants to turn on the system, pop in the game, and play. They don't want to mess with settings, and they don't need Windows. They aren't tech savvy. This is going to sound mean, so let's just rip the band-aid off. The average Nintendo fan doesn't know anything about specs. Nintendo fans aren't stupid. Knowledge isn't measured by a single metric. I'm just saying that you don't know what a Terra is, let alone why she's being flopped. Simply, talking specs doesn't matter with them because it's not even a factor for why they want the console. This isn't their only system. This might sound like blasphemy to the PC people, but PC doesn't have everything. Some of us PC gamers still want a Nintendo. As a PC gamer, my second system is always going to be a Nintendo system, and that's for one simple reason. Nintendo doesn't port their games to PC. Xbox has practically no exclusives left. Is there a single Xbox game that isn't also on PC? PlayStation might not port everything, but they still port more than Nintendo. As for Nintendo, outside of Mario teaches typing and emulation, I have never seen a Nintendo game on PC. Loyalty. I'm 34,000 years old, so I played a lot of different video game systems, but I can honestly say I have never missed out on a Nintendo system. The games are just that good for me. I started with the Game Boy Color and Pokemon Red, and since then I bought every Nintendo console. I still don't consider myself a fan of Nintendo or its hardware, but I'm definitely a fan of their games. I haven't missed a single Pokemon core entry, nor have I missed a party of the Mario variety. Aside from Jamboree, I don't plan on that changing. Nothing against Jamboree, I just haven't gotten it yet. I played NES, I own an SNES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance SP, multiple DSi, 2DS, 3DS, Wii U, Switch, GameCube, and soon a Switch 2. Specs don't provide a full picture. There are other factors that play into whether it runs games at all, or how well it runs them. It can be up to optimization. It's why games like No More Heroes run really poorly on the Switch, but Nintendo first-party titles ran fine. In terms of benchmarks, the Switch 2 is only slightly behind the Steam Deck. There are systems out there with amazing specs that still struggle to run games that, in theory, it should run fine. Like the Series S version of No More Heroes 3 runs just as badly, even though the Series S is more powerful than the Switch 2 and Steam Deck combined. There could be any number of reasons why that could be. I'm guessing it's because Suda51 was slacking on the port and didn't care whether his game was in a playable state, which is unfortunate. I love you, Suda. Even then, the info we have on the Switch 2 and its benchmarks doesn't come from a Switch 2. It comes from a YouTuber who got a supposed mainboard that he got on a Chinese auction site. He got it for a couple $100. If it were legit, do you really think it would be that cheap? That person who sold the board was selling potentially the scoop of the year, and he only sold it for $150? Come on. There are so many levels of this that are questionable. Also, he got a non-functioning board and reverse engineered it. Even weirder, they compared it to a similar laptop setup and made it run worse to simulate it. For supposedly caring about the specs, why are you even quoting this information? None of this is reliable. Nintendo hasn't confirmed the processor because it's custom, so this benchmark comes from guesses. You won't have legit tests until the damn thing is out. Are you gullible or just desperate? Do you really need the one-up in an argument that badly? It doesn't even give you a one-up if someone knows this stuff is potentially bunk. Sure, it's worse than a Series S, but who's been saying it's as good as one? Aside from people trying to rage bait you. You gotta remember, blue checks on Twitter get paid to rage bait you. We can see that it's worse in gameplay videos. Still better than last gen, and also portable. Comparing it to home consoles isn't a fair or logical comparison. It doesn't need to be better or on par with the Series S because it's portable. To be as powerful as the Series S or PS5, it would need to be as big, and then it wouldn't be portable anymore. No one buying the Switch 2 is buying it thinking it's as good as a Series S or a PS5. I have a Series S, and I know it's not going to be that strong. Graphics aren't the most important thing. Style is. I don't need my games to be hyper-realistic. I don't need to be able to see pores. I need to have fun. Life sucks, and I really don't get why people are so dedicated to trying to make it harder for others. For me, graphics are better when they're stylized, when they have a vibe or an aesthetic. Genuinely, I mean this. You can quote me. A lower resolution game that is stylistic looks better than a AAA hyper-realistic game. I like cartoons cartoony, bright, and fun. Modern games with amazing graphics can still be fun, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I think Helldivers 2 graphics are overkill and I like the original better. To me, this doesn't spark joy the same way this does. And now for the last reason. Oh boy, it's a zinger. The haters won't like this one. But then again, they probably didn't watch this far. So, you know, gloves off. One big reason, and this won't apply to all Nintendo haters, but a solid chunk of you are socially inept and are bad at convincing people of anything. A lot of you lack empathy and decorum. You're mean, and you associate a person's likes with their intelligence. You treat Nintendo fans like they're stupid. You call them names, you act like you're better, and you won't settle for anything less than everyone agreeing with you. You are a miserable and insufferable person that will only be happy when others are as despondent as yourself. Some of you are genuinely exhausting to talk to, and you only have negative things to say all the time. You are physically taxing to be around, and on the internet, that aspect of your personality is dialed up to 11 because you have the protection of anonymity. Most of you wouldn't talk to a person in real life the way you do on the internet, so who the fuck would listen to someone like you? Try being nice, you miserable sack of moldy wet gym socks. If you're someone who has already typed a mean comment without even watching the video, this is probably about you. You're just so painfully draining to talk to. It's really simple. If you're an asshole, people don't want to listen to you. This whole gotcha, I told you so, and always having to be right mentality is just unattractive. I really don't know how else to say it. It makes you look bad in so many possible ways. It's terminally alone behavior. But that's it for the list. It's nothing crazy. The haters probably could have figured it out if they weren't so busy tweet arguing all day. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider checking out something on the end card or go to my blog to check out some blog exclusives. You can find my blog on nimzynova.com. I'll see you all later. Bye. Bye 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 bye.